Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining us for today's edition of Alaska Weather. Up first here, we've got a winter storm warning out for the Snider area, southeast Alaska, for later tonight, and then that lasts through Tuesday. And during that time period, they're looking at anywhere from 12 to 24 inches of snow to fall. And then the yellow shaded areas, that's winter weather advisories there for the eastern areas of the southeast coast. Includes Juneau on up to Haines. That's for 6 to 9 inches of snow over the next couple of days to fall in those areas. And then back to the northwest, there's a winter storm watch, or actually a winter storm warning out for the northwest coast, actually for Point Hope. It's for the greater Point Hope area. For northeast winds will begin gusting to 70 miles per hour by midnight tonight, and that'll continue through Tuesday. And winter storm warning also remains out for tonight and tomorrow here for St. Lawrence Island, Bering Strait coast for those 30 to 45 mile per hour winds with blowing snow, knocking the visibilities down to about half mile or less at times. On satellite imagery, here's that system rolling into the southeast coast there, spreading the snow and in some cases rain and snow mixed, mostly to the south, gradually shifting northward. Storm force winds today across the northern coast here, back across all of the North Gulf Coast with those 50 to 60 knot winds, and pretty windy there for Cordova. They had gusts to about, over 40 miles per hour, and gales going on today in Prince William Sound as well as Cook Inlet. Low pressure right around in this area here, so that gives northeast flow up here from the Chukchi Sea on into the northern Bering with blizzard conditions there, or near blizzard conditions at times. St. Lawrence Island back toward the Bering Strait. Snow and blowing snow today at Nome, but visibility is down to maybe 3/4 to 1.5 miles at times there, and just mostly clouds here in the interior. Some areas of light snow, and then showers right through here with that cloud feature into Bristol Bay. Rain showers St. Paul, rain and snow showers around Alaska, colder air back to the west. Isolated snow showers for Adak and Atka, and Shimia seeing snow showers with temperatures even colder. Up along the Arctic coast, cleared out in areas up there, especially over the North Slope and the eastern Arctic coast today. And that allowed temperatures to drop down into the -20s, in some cases lower -30s, with a clear skies, but light snow, fog, or flurries, fog, extended there from the central coast all the way down to Point Lay, and then drier northeast winds here, 10 to 20 miles an hour there over the Chukchi Sea coming offshore, so that cleared it out and there wasn't much in the way of any precipitation there. And then this moisture ahead of that front with the low center at the south of the Kenai Peninsula. Mixture of rain or snow here for the North Gulf Coast. Again, Yakutat falling mostly as snow, kind of a mix there for Cordova, and rain and snow for Whittier into Portage. Portage picking up over 2 inches water equivalent precipitation in the last 24 hours. And also Seward picking up about 1 1/3 inches of rainfall as well, and that falling as snow at the higher elevations. And then western Cook Inlet, eastern slopes of the Alaska Range, that's where the upslope conditions are. So that's where the areas of snow were today, more lighter and flurry-ish up toward the north there, northern Susitna Valley, actually north of the northern Susitna Valley up toward the Denali area. And also some flurries up there over the northeast and along the central western Arctic coast. Snow blowing snow, as I mentioned, Nome on down across St. Lawrence Island Areas of light snow here for the Yukon Delta, otherwise scattered snow showers for the inland areas, rain and snow showers out toward the coast. And for tonight, that front pushes southward here, and the northern portion really weakens into a trough here, but that's going to spread the precipitation all the way up into Canada. And again, the winter storm warning for Hyder begins tonight, and something of a mix right through here. Prince of Wales Island should mostly be in the form of rain, below about 900 feet. Rain and snow for the North Gulf Coast, areas of snow, Prince William Sound right up along the mountains, as well as back to the west here in this shaded area. Snow and blowing snow continues. St. Lawrence Island, low pressure right near Nunivak Island, so winds will be lighter and more variable, with periods of snow showers there, mixed rain and snow showers, Bristol Bay out to the west, and then cold air sweeping in behind this trough here, swinging around that 973 millibar low. That'll bring definitely snowfall levels down to sea level with quite numerous snow showers with that feature, more scattered here to the east. And then tomorrow that trough swings right across the Fox Islands tomorrow afternoon. Strong west-northwesterlies behind that, falling snowfall levels. Pretty good here, Pribilof, southeast Bering Sea, with most of the action up to the northeast with those northeast winds. And low pressure still off the coast, so that's going to keep the chance of snow showers in across the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas, and more scattered in nature there for the Kuskokwim Valley and areas of snow showers along the Aleutian and Alaska Range areas. Pretty dry over the Tanana Valley, Copper River Basin tomorrow, maybe a little bit of clearing. Otherwise, back to the west, more clouds and a few flurries. Winds increasing here, Point Lay, Cape Lismore, Point Hope. Again, northeast winds, that'll create some snow and blowing snow with that, but nothing new expected to fall tomorrow. And flurries and fog now will develop over the eastern Arctic coast, locally in the North Slope with those increasing northeast winds. Patch of snow up here over the northeast Arctic Village, eastern Brooks Range area. And taking a look at the Tuesday forecast, that low center actually kind of pulls back to the north for Monday night. And then it tracks right up to about this area, weakens with this batch of snow here. So this other low center drifting eastward across the Gulf of Alaska. Southwesterly flow keeps surges of moisture rolling in on those troughs as they swing inland. And snowfall levels should remain quite low, so look for snow here over the eastern areas along with those advisories. Winter storm warning continues for Hyder, and mixture of rain or snow along the coast, scattered snow showers south central Alaska, but even northern Cook Inlet, Susitna, Matanuska Valley, chance of some light snow showers, but these mostly will be over the mountainous terrain, Kenai Peninsula and Talkeetnas. And now for the Tanana Valley and the Yukon Flats, mostly cloudy areas of light snow through here, getting a little more intermittent and lighter back to the west, except along this line here, right down the Kuskokwim River. And then really cold air pouring out of the Russian Far East here, that Arctic high coming right across St. Lawrence Island, so snow, probably blowing snow again, heavy freezing spray in the open areas there, spreading right down toward the Pribilofs. Snow showers now for the Alaska Peninsula, colder northwest winds. A break here for the Adak-Atka area, and then the next big storm pushing quite a bit of warm air with it. That'll be overspreading the western Aleutians late Tuesday and Tuesday night, and that'll continue up to the northeast. For temperatures today for the southeast coast, mid-20s to upper 30s, 37 at Sitka. One of the warmer locations, Klawock, had 36. 29, Juneau, 35, Yakutat, and for Cordova, right at 40 degrees. That same temperature also matched at Homer and Kodiak. Otherwise, Kenai was at 30, as well as Valdez. Copper River Basin, mid-teens there. And Talkeetna up to 32, but Susitna Valley, mid-20s, 26 in Palmer. And that's, I believe, Denali with 35 above zero. Otherwise, lower elevations and the cold air, 8 above there at Fairbanks. 13 Delta with winds gusting to 50 miles per hour. Today out of the east-southeast. No wind, -2 over at Northway. And a little farther below zero across the Yukon Flats today with Fort Yukon at -18, -1 at Bettles. And even colder up over the North Slope, out along the eastern coast here. lower 20s below zero. Umiat minus 31 this afternoon. Single numbers there for the central and western Arctic coast down into Kotzebue Sound, but Shishma was up to 18. Same thing at Wales, 25. Savunga, 26 with that snow and blowing snow at Nome today. And then temperatures range from 17 at McGrath. That 37 must be misplaced. Upper 20s here for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, from Bethel to Marshall on out to St. Mary's with a 30-degree reading at McCormick. And for the Pribilofs, mid to upper 30s today, upper 30s eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, mid 30s for Bristol Bay, and a little cooler out west. For lows tonight, lower 30s for the Aleutians and the Bering Sea to lower 20s St. Lawrence Island, 20s here over the southwest part of the state into south central, north of the mountains down to near or below zero through the central interior, and again looking 20 to 30 below zero across the north slope, milder for the Arctic coast. Highs for tomorrow staying below zero north of the Brooks Range throughout the day, and a little above zero here through the central interior, Tanana Valley, 40-mile country, even the Cop River Basin, mid to upper 20s, south central Alaska, upper 30s Kodiak, near 40 for the peninsula, back into the 30s for the Panhandle, and 30s here for the southeast coast, Sitka popping up to 42. And for flying weather tonight, late tonight, early tomorrow morning, IFR spreads over all of the southeast coast, and also the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, southern Cook Inlet there through the Barrens into Kamishak Bay, swath along the southwest coast to St. Lawrence Island, also up over the eastern Arctic coast and North Slope. And for tomorrow afternoon, that advances to the western Alaska Range, lifts over northern Bristol Bay, marginal for Lawrence Island there. IFR continues North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, eastern Arctic coast, upslope areas of the Berks Range on the north side, and IFR here over the northern and central southeast coast over toward the border, marginal VFR everywhere else. Passes, Anaktuvik will be open again tomorrow, as well as Adigan, good VFR up there. Probably some clouds, so it won't be clear skies. Lake Clark and Merrill, IFR. Rainy will be marginal, and for windy, looks good. VFR flying through the pass. Isabel, same forecast in Montesta. Open again, Tanita, VFR. And for Portage, continued IFR. Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR at times, maybe IFR on the southern entrances, and that's about it. So moving on to the freezing levels. Surface still north of St. Matthew Island, and then down along the southwest coast, up Cook Inlet, eastward, just north of the coastline, late tonight and tomorrow morning, and down the east side of the southeast coast, 2,000 feet there, just clipping Prince of Wales Island and on out into the Gulf of Alaska. As far as icing goes, best chance will be in the shaded areas here over the Kenai Peninsula from the northern Kuskokwim Valley into the western Gulf, Prince William Sound, all the way down the southeast coast, gradually shifting northward throughout the day. So probably won't be much of a problem up here over the northern areas. Otherwise, icing free interior on up to the Arctic coast. And then possibility of rime or mixed icing exists from the Alaska Peninsula all the way up to about Amchitka Island, wrapping back into the Yukon Delta coast. And the jet stream, upper level low here over the southeast Bering Sea. Otherwise, one branch here west-southwest, 30 to 55 knots due to that low west of Banks Island, and then a strong jet well south of the Aleutians as well as the Alaska Peninsula. Splits right about in this area, one branch cutting across now the Queen Charlotte Islands as that low center drives in just to the south of the Panhandle. So looking at 3,000 foot winds, westerlies 20 to 30 knots there southeast Bering across Kodiak. Lighter, more variable here over the southern interior, actually all the way over toward the border. 20 knots, North Gulf Coast. Variable winds there for the Panhandle, except down south getting a little stronger, up to 60 knots there swinging in Dixon Entrance and the Queen Charlottes. Out west, 30 to 50 west-northwesterlies here from the Aleutians, and then northerlies 35 to 50 west of the Pribilofs, northeast 40 right up across St. Lawrence Island to 55 knots there around Cape Lisburne and Point Hope, and even 50-knot winds there for the western Brooks Range, although it drops back to about 15 to 3,000 feet, but 45 knots here from about Cape Lisburne right down to St. Lawrence Island. Northwesterlies pretty brisk there, In fact, there are storm warnings out for the central Aleutians tomorrow. 50 to 55 knots, turn westerly, diminish 25 to 35, light winds southern interior, northeast in areas here up to 30 knots at 3,000 feet. And again, the strongest winds south of this low center will be near or south of Dixon Entrance. Turbulence-wise, occasional moderate chop there as that storm moves in tomorrow over the southern southeast coast, much smoother up to the north. And occasional moderate chop here, pretty widespread, Brooks Range, Arctic coast, right through the Chukchi Sea down to St. Lawrence Island. And then also here from the Alaska Peninsula areas, right around Sand Point, out to Amchitka Island. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Indicating 125. Third helicopter station, I'll guide you inside.
When approaching Skagway, be alert for tour operators in the area and for helicopter traffic departing and arriving at Skagway. The traffic pattern is at 1,000 feet with right-hand traffic for runway 19 to avoid the town of Skagway. It will appear that the pattern is close to the mountain, and it is. You will find that you are quite close to the trees on the downwind.
Approach Skagway.
A close-in base turn around the water tanks to almost immediate final is needed to avoid overshooting the final approach. This is a tight, narrow canyon that consistently generates turbulent winds in the pattern and on the runway. Be aware that there is a bridge with automobile and truck traffic at the end of the final approach end for runway 19. The bridge is used as a final reporting point. There's a school to the left of the runway just beyond the bridge that must not be overflown. Since the runway is narrow and 3,700 feet long, it gives the appearance that you must land on the approach end numbers in order to stop by the end of the runway. Touching down in the first third of the runway is paramount. Also, be alert to the possibility of variable winds on the runway. Tour operations generated by the cruise ship industry in the summer are extremely busy conducting glacier tours. Multiple flights depart and arrive at the same time, making pattern entry awkward. Good communications are the key to safe entry as well as departure. After landing, aircraft taxi off to the side of the runway and wait for other landing aircraft to taxi off before taxiing back to parking. Be aware that several aircraft are apt to be back taxiing to parking areas at one time. So it's important to be especially careful to report your position in the pattern and while on final. When necessary, don't hesitate to go around. Wind shifts are common in Skagway. It's not unusual to see all three windsocks flying in different directions at the same time. The winds are known to shift unexpectedly. It is possible to get a reported wind from the south, only to be on final approach to runway 19 and have the wind suddenly come down the valley from the north. Winds are usually from the south at 17 to 25 knots, but have been known to exceed 30 knots in the summer. In winter months, severe winds can ground aircraft for days at a time. Departing from Skagway to Juneau off runway 19. After clearing the shoreline, turn to fly to the left of Taya Inlet and retrace your steps to Lena Point. Your first checkpoint on the return trip will be Taya Point.
I've emailed her Drox 2.0 west side.
As you enter the Lynn Canal, you can see the Chilkat Inlet off to your right, which leads to Haynes.
Port third for downwind 8, number 2.
Your next set of checkpoints will be Sullivan Island to your right and Eldred Rock Lighthouse. As you continue toward Juneau, you will see Berners Bay, Benjamin Island, Eagle Beach, Tea Harbor, and finally, Lena Point. Lena Point is the first reporting point into the Juneau Airport. The approach into Juneau requires vigilance because many aircraft will be approaching and departing the Juneau Airport and Float Pond area. Subsequent reporting points when approaching for runway 08 are Coghlan Island, then Battleship Island, if requested, the Cut, South Tip, and final approach. If you are interested in traveling to other locations in Alaska, please view the appropriate videotape.
Welcome back. With a storm cutting across the southern panhandle tomorrow, starting out with gale force winds from the east-southeast here on the south coast. But as that low center pulls in, these winds expected to swing around to the west and later in the afternoon in the 30 to 35 knot range. Meanwhile, Clarence Strait, southeast 40 knots, 13-foot seas, higher toward the ocean entrance. Much lighter winds here up to the north, northeast-northeast at 15. And northeast 15 for Stevens Passage. Light winds also in store for Lynn Canal. And those continue through Tuesday up there. Otherwise off the coast now, west or west-southwest winds, 25 knots, small craft advisory, seas 15 to 20 feet. Clarence Strait coming down but staying out of the southeast, 20 knots, 6-foot seas. Light southeasterlies there for Stevens Passage, light northerlies, as I mentioned, for Lynn Canal. Northeast coming down to 20 knots, a lot less wind tomorrow than you saw today for Prince William Sound. Same thing for Cook Inlet, right down across the Barren Islands. Earlier today, Augustine Island had a gust to about 65 miles per hour. Otherwise, Shelikof Strait, west 20 tomorrow, 30 knots there along the east side of Kodiak. Small craft advisories for the Barrens and the North Gulf Coast. And then for Tuesday, we've got west winds here at 25 with 10-foot seas for the eastern North Gulf Coast. Really light winds for Prince William Sound and all of Cook Inlet, mostly here, at least from the north, south of the Forelands. Northwest 20, Kamishak Bay across the Barrens. And westerlies at roughly 20 knots there, give or take. Maybe a more variable direction, depending on where the low center sets up. But right now, 20 knots, 15-foot seas. Bristol Bay tomorrow, southwest 25, and that pattern extends all the way down to Cape Sarachev. And then we've got gales on the southern side of the peninsula and west 30 from Castle Cape to Sitkinak with 16 to 22-foot seas. And for Tuesday, northwest 15 there for Bristol Bay or west-northwest. Otherwise, pretty light there. Small craft advisories there southwest of Sitkinak. Good gales, northwest 40, higher gusts out of the bays there for the southern Alaska Peninsula. Small craft advisories on the Bering Sea side. And for the Fox Islands tomorrow, southwest 30 to 50 knots here. Definitely gales there south of the Unalaska Island area to Nikolsky, and then 40 to 50 knot westerlies for the central Aleutian. Strongest winds here, as it shows, will be south of the chain in those zones, dropping back to 40 northwest gales for Shimya. And then those turn south, and that's a mistake. That should be south 50 knots for Tuesday, with seas building as well. Then southwest 40 knots for the areas west of Adak. And then westerlies kind of ridging, moving through. So 25 to 30 knot winds there for Adak and Atka. On the other side of the ridge, northwest, 35 to 40 across the Fox Islands, with seas as high as 24 feet. And for the southwest coast, north of Nunivak Island, light easterlies, southwest 20 south of the island. Same thing for the Pribilofs. Small craft advisories for St. Matthew Island, northeast 40 for St. Lawrence Island. Those drop back to about 30 knots. Heavy freezing spray, much colder air coming down on these northwest winds. So freezing spray all the way to the Pribilofs, numerous snow showers. And for the eastern Arctic coast, 15 to 20 out of the northeast. Those winds pick up to 30 knots here on the west side. Gales tomorrow from Point Hope here to Cape Beaufort, northeast 30 for the Chukchi Sea. And then we've got gales here for Tuesday, 35 to 40 knots right up to Cape Beaufort. Small craft advisories or brisk wind advisories on the west side, 10 to 15 for the central and eastern coast. And for tonight again, a lot of moisture with this system moving in initially to the southern southeast coast. Winter storm warning for the Hyder area through Tuesday for a lot of snow. 6 to 9 inches here for the southeast coast. Moisture south, drier north. Winter storm warning continues for St. Lawrence Island. And for
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
I grew up with public broadcasting. I've watched it my whole life.
Alaska Public Media has brought so much into our lives and has contributed so much to our enjoyment and our continuing education about the world.
I want to make certain that my daughter and my grandchildren, and hopefully great-grandchildren someday, learn through public broadcasting. I'm Susan Reeves.
And I'm Jim Reeves, and we're proud supporters of Alaska Public Media.